Good, Randy. How are you, dude?
I am doing incredible. Let me just say, I have been so excited all day. We were just talking how I just got home from work, and this is like an interview, like a year in the making, because I started your last season and we didn't get a chance to speak. And so I've been looking forward to this, man. We got a lot to chat about, but how are you feeling after watching that back last night?
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, it's great to speak to you. I feel good, man. It's interesting having to relive through all the trauma again. I went through it once and now I have to watch it again. But, that's a part of it. That's what you sign up for. And you start questioning all your decisions and everything like that. And then people start asking you about your decision making and you're going, oh, I don't even know. But
Oh
yeah,
man,
nah,
let's just you messaged about this on social media. Let's just nip this in the bud right here, because I know
yeah,
you had to get a million messages last night. Why isn't he passing the idol on to Liz? Come on, Jordie, how rude and stuff.
yeah.
Okay, so you cannot do that on Survivor. That is a rule, correct?
That's correct. You can't do it. In previous seasons, you would have seen it happen, and that's why they've since changed the rules. So as soon as you sit your bum on the stool, it's done. Whatever's in your pocket is yours.
I'm saying they just want people to go home with the idol in their pocket. That's what they want. They don't want it
I
to
think
come
so. I
back.
think that's right. Yeah,
They
100%.
want that drama. So before we get into your actual gameplay here and some of the decisions you made throughout the game, I know we have a limited time, but first things first, it we had that beautiful auction moment, and I have to ask, how is Sam doing? I know we all want to know.
Yeah, she's doing really well, man. Thanks for asking. Yeah, she's just about to explode, really. Like it's any day now. So she's sort of getting to the point where she's that uncomfortable. She's sort of talking to him and saying, "All right, buddy, whenever you're ready, let's get this show on the road."
I was a little nervous you were going to say any day now, because I was like, whew, I'm now going to be nervous podcasting and everything, and it could be any minute. But walk me through
Oh,
that.
what's that,
Just
babe? You need to go. We gotta
yeah, yeah.
go.
All right, that's Jordie, everybody. Thanks for coming. No, that's what I'm terrified of. But no, walk
Yeah.
me through that moment in the auction, because it was just the pure joy when you found out you were having a boy, and the true love on the expression you had. And I was praying JLP would give both you and Maddie a chance to speak back home, because both of you were just, nah, you take it, man, you take it. So what was going in your mind the moment he brought that up and he said, okay, next item for bidding is, a call back home?
Yeah, I was sort of waiting and hoping for an opportunity because it wasn't so much for me about finding out the gender of the baby or the sex of the baby. It was more so about just making sure that he was healthy because in the early days of pregnancy, you don't know what's going to happen. And I'd left Sam without any contact, of course. So for me, it was just a relief to see she was happy and healthy and the baby was healthy. And while you'd be happy with anything, I was just excited to hear from her and see she was okay. And obviously, Maddie, I owe him a lot. Like that moment, you know, the fact that I didn't come home with the win is obviously disappointing, but I will never not have that experience. And now he gets to watch that experience as well. That's not just a memory for Sam and I, that's for him now one day too.
I mean, I rarely cry, and that brought a tear. Like, I was literally sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, that's why I was cheering. Come on, JLP, give it to both of them. But I mean, I should have asked
Yeah.
you first before we actually get into the game. Are you okay? Are you getting enough sleep? Is that the crib behind you? I want to make sure that you're getting some sleep now.
Yeah, yeah, that is the crib. I'm only in here though because this is not my new bedroom. This is only
I
because
wanted
it's
to
the
make sure.
quietest. Yeah, no, this is the quietest room in the house. So I've chosen to sit here and chat with you in here.
Oh man, no, totally get it. One of the toughest things that you can do in Survivor, and especially combining that with Australian Survivor, with how physically taxing and challenging it is pulling double duty. I don't think people talk about it enough and kind of praise people enough who do it. So what was the most difficult part about getting back to the game right after your last season?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was really difficult. Obviously, physically, your body hasn't really recovered. Like while you look bigger, your body's not actually physically all there. And then obviously mentally, you have to be in the right mental state to be out there. It's very like more than physical. It's a mental issue. It's very difficult out there. Super taxing, exhausting. You have to want it to rock up on that beach. You've got to want it. And so that was obviously difficult. And then it comes to strategy as well. Like, not only had I just left my newly pregnant fiance at home, I had then come out to a situation that the odds were stacked against me. I was on these people's screens like 6 months ago. They know who I am.
There's no hiding what you just did. Yeah, I mean,
that's
you're
right.
an exciting character too. So like everyone knows, it wasn't like you played a quiet game.
Yeah, it was. I certainly knew that. I knew that for me, it wasn't going to be about hiding. I wasn't going to be able to hide behind anyone, and that's not really my game anyway. For me, it's about just coming out swinging and trying to take a measured yet controlling approach as much as you can.
I love it, and we saw the game you played this time. It was still that high energy. I thought it was still kind of the let's cause some chaos that got you the name of Joker. But I really did think it was more laid back. Let's look at the numbers. Let's see the best path forward. You started off the game working with Simon very early on. And then we saw you kind of go into a double agent of sorts. We heard that a lot in the last episode of let me get with George to make sure I have all my eggs in the basket if Simon keeps going after him and kind of sinks himself here, which was very smart. But what started that Simon alliance? Was it day one, you guys just really hit it off, or what did you guys kind of know each other previously?
No, there was a couple of things in that. For me, it was, I didn't go there to make friends. While I did make friends, I didn't go there to make friends. For me, that decision was purely strategic. I knew that Simon's ego would eventually get the better of him. And so sort of pushing him in the direction of leader was not an accident. That was deliberate. And eventually I was always going to jump ship. But for me to lift other people's threat level, keeping the feud between Simon and George going was a huge part of my game. Like having to keep them at it.
I couldn't even imagine what it was actually like being there at camp, because it seemed kind of at some points like hostile. I was like, what is going on here?
Dude, it was wild. Like those guys just got out of control. And everyone knows that perhaps there was more to it as well. Like even when we got back from that tribal, they kept going. It didn't stop. So it was wild, man. And in a way, it was disappointing because it's not about you shouldn't get personal in Survivor. It's about being strategic and having fun. And it doesn't need to get nasty.
And I love that you put it out there during that tribal council. You were like, okay, guys, we need to. You kind of said we need to calm down a little bit. We're getting to a point where we're just throwing stuff out now. And I can't remember if you were actually the one who said it, but you were like, let's just vote. Let's just get to it. Yeah. We're not going to solve anything here bickering. Let's get on to that, because I think you were very lucky. You got to be a part of one of the most entertaining, most thrilling tribal councils ever. And I'm sure lucky would not be the word that you use, because Simon and yours relationship was very rocky coming out of that. And then George just decided, well, I'm not going to work with Jordie. I'm going to throw his name just out there. So where was your mindset at leaving that tribal council? Because it had to be like, okay, I need a tribe swap and I need it now.
Yeah, it was full on, man. It was really intense. Like I honestly thought, there was part of me that obviously knew getting to a tribe swap was going to be good, because it was going to break us up. But also we were going to come in at best, with just enough numbers maybe to work with. But either way, I was doomed anyway. It seemed like I was in a lot of trouble. So for me, there was part of me that really wanted to see the Simon and George show explode. Like I wanted to see a result.
That was the Joker side of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to see something happen, like I wanted them to pay for their toxic behavior. I found it really foul, and I wanted to see it go head to head and see, let them pay for what they did, show the consequences,
No, I think it would have been really entertaining. That's why part of me was like, the chaos in me was like, no, Jordie, let him go at it. But yes, I still do agree. It was probably the right thing to do, to be like, let's just vote. So far in this game, you mentioned it a second ago where you said, pushing Simon up into this leadership position, it's really been a theme of this season for the returning players, the big personalities, to use someone else as a shield. And we continue to see that. Do you believe that this is the best way for like returning players to play the game? Because so far it's been working. You know, the first, 7 or 8 people voted out of the game were new players, and it's just these returnees are working really well together.
For sure. I think that, there's a difference between using someone as a shield, and there's a difference between sort of hiding behind someone and also between hiding behind someone and then also being strategic and intelligent about who you align with and in terms of threat mitigation. So for example, right, Haley and Nina, very comfortably being supervised and sort of protected by those alpha boys, and I would call that hiding. I personally would call that hiding. Whereas electing someone as a leader and manipulating their decision making and then also manipulating other people's opinions about that, for me, was not so much about being a shield, but finding a new way to control the game, personally.
After that tribal, let's just say, theoretically speaking, and I don't like to throw out these theoretical situations because you never know, but if, let's say that was just, I don't know, a normal tribal, right? Would you have you would have stuck with Simon, or did you feel closer to George at that point?
At that point, it was more so strategic in getting rid of Simon. For me, I knew that Simon, if we did get to a swap or a merge, Simon would just go straight
those big
over
guys.
to those big guys. And so it was like, well, either strap myself to him and just like go with those guys, which is not my game, or try and work with people that want to play and play in a really strategic, intelligent way, and so I was, and obviously my relationship with Shonnie and Liz was stronger than people know.
Yes.
We were super tight. And so for me, it was about sticking with those girls as well.
I was going to mention that just watching the edit, we didn't see a lot of you three, but we did see that conversation kind of start I believe it was at the water well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seemed like I said instantly watching it, that could be a really deadly combination if you get those three together. And obviously the tribe swap kind of threw a wrench into things. Before we get to your actual elimination and what was going through your mind at that point, not only did you do the kind of back-to-back seasons, which is one of the hardest things to do in Survivor, it is not easy to do a live idol trade. And you were able to do that at the challenge. So, man, you're sitting there, right? You're like, I need this idol. This is a great opportunity for you and Liz to get 2 idols. I can't even imagine the butterflies in your stomach, how nervous you could be just to get that thing. Was it easier than we think? Or because you kind of looked like you were in the back at the time, but what was man, how'd you do that? Because it looked flawless.
It was so hard. And it looked like a quick transfer, but that moment took a lot of work to get to that position, to be able to do it without people looking. It was actually really it's really hard.
I mean, you guys always embrace after the challenge, right? So you have that, but it's still like making sure no one sees it.
Yeah, because she had to get to her bag, and then they were about to leave, and she's looking at me going, when are we doing this? Are we doing, and I haven't actually reflected on that moment until you mentioned it. But yeah, that was difficult.
I can't even imagine. You kind of had the Simon technique, right? Earlier in the season, you're like, where are you hiding it? He's like, oh, it's back here in the butt, and you kind of had that technique. You slid it, so Simon teach you something on where to put the idol.
Maybe I did. Maybe in the end I did learn something from Simon. Yeah.
Oh man, I know we keep bringing up Simon, and I hate to do it because this is your interview to kind of talk about your game, but you guys did interlock for a good part of the game, and it goes all the way to your vote off that we watched last night. And I think I was more shocked just being a viewer and watching it from what I saw from the edit, that you and Liz were as shocked that Simon jumped on with those alpha males, because you kept mentioning it all season. I loved the idea that you had, though. I loved it. We have a chance to keep both these idols, and it would have worked if Simon didn't make that jump. So how confident were you when you told Liz, stay calm, we got this, stick to the plan? How confident were you that the three of you were solid and this plan was really going to work out?
Yeah, for me, it was more so the fact that I didn't expect them to pile their numbers on me. I thought it was going to be a split. And
Mm,
so having a promise from Nina and Haley, I expected them to stay strong, and then the split would split between Liz and I, and so the numbers would have worked regardless of
yeah.
Simon anyway. I had suspected obviously that he was working with them. I also heard whispers that Sean was interested in working with us. So I was quietly confident, but also always expecting votes. I was always expecting
Yeah.
votes. And every time you walk into tribal council, into the dojo, you need to expect that you could go home. You need to be expecting that within yourself. You've got to surrender to that moment. And yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I was that close. It was that bloody close.
I mean, yeah, you almost had the perfect plan. I was like, this is genius. Do you still have the idol? Is it?
I do.
Have it
I
on
don't have it
display?
with me. I
Okay.
don't have it with me. I have it on good authority. It's on its way to me from production. So yeah, I look forward to getting a hold of it, and
I
maybe I'll be traumatized by it though. Maybe it'll be
I
triggering.
was gonna say you're not gonna like seeing it, but I'm like,
Yeah,
eventually it'll be a beautiful wall display. It'll be
yeah,
gorgeous
that's
for you,
right.
man. I have
Yeah.
time for just one more question, and I'm sure this is a question you've gotten a lot. But it's how we always like to wrap up the show here. So, from your two experiences back to back, what will you take away from your Survivor experience as a whole, whether that's
Mm.
within the game or outside the game? And I know this is the last thing you want to think about at the moment, but will we ever see you? Will we see the end of the trilogy, the end of the Joker trilogy? Will you go back out and play again?
Great question. So, answering the first part, what will I take away? For me, it's about maintaining perspective. Always maintain perspective, no matter the drama, the chaos, what's going on, who's being nasty to who. Maintain perspective on what's truly important, and that carries from Survivor through to life. That's a good life lesson, I think. But also, yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, I'll be back. Like,
Oh
you
man,
know,
I was hoping you said that. I'm like, I know you probably don't want to think about it at the moment. We have to get you back out there, man.
yeah, it's like getting your second tattoo. You get your first one and you go, "Oh, that was painful. I don't know if I'll do that again." But then you look back on the experience and you look at the art and you go, "Actually, that's quite cool. I'd probably do that again." And then you get addicted.
Oh man, I was hoping you said that. Can't wait to see you back out there, Jordie. It has been an incredible pleasure, man, to have you on. Great interview. I think I only said Joker 3 times, which I was aiming not to say it too many times. So I'll take it. I think I only said it 3, but man, best of luck with the delivery, man, and can't wait to see you back out there.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate your time. You're a legend. Really
Oh, thanks,
appreciate it.
man. And get some sleep. Please get some sleep. Have a great
I
night,
will.
man.
See you, bud. See ya.